Hello Crastovan, Kippers here again, and here's a quick cheap repair to a very common problem in a hell of a lot of camper vans nationwide, in fact probably worldwide. Have you got one of these plastic shower trays in your camper van and, like so many people I know, has it started to crack? So if the answer is yes, as long as you haven't got a hole in your shower tray and it's just cracked, then follow along the rest of this video and see what I do to get mine fixed. Now, I was trying to say, am I thinking out of the box to come up with a solution? Well, no, I'm probably going to use a product for its original intention. And that product is Raptor. The reason this didn't come straight to mind is we all think of this as a paint for your van, but actually it is a truck bed liner. Now, if it's good enough for a truck bed, it's got to be good enough for a shower tray. So I'm going to use the Raptor, some of the U-POL plastic primer, and from a previous project, my variable Raptor gun, where I can adjust the spray to get a fine or coarser spray. So if you're intrigued, follow along and let's see if I'm successful. So as we come into the van, here is our little shower room stroke toilet. And there's the offending article down there. Now let's get down a little bit closer and I'll point out one or two things. So it's fair to say, I think, that the first thing I ever noticed was these sort of like spider's web cracks that appeared just in the middle of the floor there. And as time's gone on, they've actually opened up. But what I did realize was there were actually splits as well around the sort of trough area in here, and there was another one just there. Now, this was an emergency repair done with an Araldite type of glue while we were away traveling. Now, to be fair, that was sort of 2 years ago, and I'm only just getting around to doing something about it now. That one is probably the one to be more concerned about. So I will also say there is a little bit of flexing in the floor, particularly in that area. Now, of course, when I did the van, I did follow the advice that most people give, and that was to stick a sheet of plywood underneath, cut to shape to fit the underside of the tray. The theory being to give it rigidity. Now, that was stuck down with Sikaflex, and I think over time that has actually delaminated. And I know you would think, oh, well, it'll just stay down and won't go down any further. But actually, I think what it's allowed the shower tray to do is actually to pop up slightly. So the wood is firmly fixed underneath, but the shower tray is slightly raised, and that's allowing that little bit of flex up and down. So really, the first part of my little plan is to take some 120 grit sandpaper and just abrade the whole of the shower tray, but paying particular attention around where the actual damage is. Not going to go hell for leather with this sandpaper, but just enough to give it a bit of a key before I will then treat it with a plastic primer. Right, that's it all sanded. I'm going to leave the toilet in, but I am going to do up to this edge here, and I'm going to take it up to the top of that slope there, but I'm not going to be messing about around the other side of the toilet because, well, nobody walks there. So anyway, all the way along this thresh has been done. It's handy to have the light on, of course, because what you don't want to be doing is leaving any shiny bits. So get it sanded off, get it brushed off. It's still dirty now, but I've brushed it off about 3 times, bits of sandpaper, etc, etc. And then just move your head around and look for any shiny bits and get rid of them, because obviously the shiny bits are going to be less likely to adhere to the coating. So the time you take now, the better. Now, here we are down at the plug hole. Well, not the plug hole, the drain out. Now, I did consider taking this out, but then I thought, Christ, no, because what would it be if for whatever reason I couldn't get it sealed up again properly? Then I considered spraying the coating over it and encapsulating it in with the shower tray, and then I thought, no, I won't do that either. So I'm just going to scrape out around about the outside of it all the surplus silicone from when it was installed, mask it off right up to the edge and plug the hole, of course, and then hopefully the coating will get down in there and provide an additional seal. So we need to get tidied up now, masked off, and then get the plastic primer on. So given the cost, and well, never mind the cost actually, the horrendous job it would be to dismantle this shower cubicle and replace this tray, what have I got to lose other than 30 quid's worth of treatment stuff to have a go at fixing it? And of course the advantage of flattening it off with the sandpaper is now when you're putting the primer on, you can see it all go shiny again. So now you're looking to make sure you don't leave any dull spots. Okay then, so back when I did the blue van, I kept a couple of empty Raptor bottles back. Now then, these would have been mixed up blue, but I've thoroughly cleaned them out with acetone. So they're actually just empty plastic bottles. So what I've done, obviously I'm not going to blast off a whole litre of Raptor just to do a toilet tray. So I've probably still over egged it a bit, but I've put out 1/3 of a litre into this bottle, and I have put the equivalent of white dye, or the 2K tint, to go in there, sufficient for 300 mils. And then of course when I'm ready to do the painting, I'm going to put the hardener in and give the whole thing a good shake up. Now then, back when I did the van, rather than use the Schutz gun that comes with the bottles, what I actually did was I bought the Raptor Vari gun. Now what that allowed me to do was save a ton of Raptor when I did the blue van, but you see it has an adjustable nozzle on there. So to get quite a fine sort of a mist, what I did on the blue van was I screwed the nozzle all the way in and then wound it out 3 complete turns. Now that is quite a fine texture. However, I wanted a little bit better than that for the shower tray, so I'm going to be winding it out too, and then testing it on a bit of wood and then just seeing if I'm happy with that before proceeding. Oh yeah, and of course I did forget one other thing. In addition to buying the gun, I've actually got a pressure regulator on it, which you can set at a predetermined spray pressure. And at the time I did the van, everybody seemed to be recommending between 55 and 60. So that's what this one is set at the moment. And I'm just going to stick with what I've used in the past. Again, just having this extra fine control over your gun just means you get a lovely even coat of Raptor when you come to apply it. So when I first ever sprayed Raptor, it was complete van respray, and that was a bit daunting. Never sprayed a vehicle of any description at any time with anything. However, at least I was able to stand back and get a good idea of what I was doing. Now, of course, this shower compartment is pretty confined, and I'm going to be a bit of a contortionist to try and get this evenly around the shower tray. I will attempt to film it, but I doubt I'm going to be able to film all of it. Now, the other thing, of course, if you're going to be spraying Raptor, you absolutely must get a good mask, because this paint will harden and cure a bit like fiberglass, and you don't want to do that inside your lungs. So you've got to keep this stuff out of your lungs, out of your mouth. In fact, avoid breathing it in completely. So here we are, 2 turns out, and I'm pretty happy with that. So let's get in there and see how we get on. Right, I'm just going to put a bit along the back wall as a test, and then I'm going to let you see me do a bit of it, and then I'm just going to have to put the phone down and just get on with it. Okay then folks, I've just finished. Let's hope the hell I don't drop my phone on this. So sadly there's a couple of snotty bits came out of my spray gun, but I think that doesn't really matter. So all in all, that looks pretty damn good to me. Second attempt ever spraying Raptor, first attempt ever doing a shower tray. So if it'll be a right hassle to get yours out and replace it, why not just have a go with some Raptor? Now okay, I get it, I've got a variable gun, so that's allowed me to get a finer finish. Total cost of doing this, a third of a bottle of Raptor, some tint, the hardener obviously. I'm going to estimate about 14-15 quid, but then as I say, that's because I've already got the equipment. So we're going to come back when it's all dried, and then we'll have a closer look and we'll get the masking tape off. But looking at that, I really don't think I'm going to have to put another coat on. I think I'm quite happy with what's on. So the masking tape and newspaper's all off now, and it's now touch dry. But I ain't going to mess on with this for at least the 3 days off gas period. So job's a good one.